Hi guys, how many times have you clicked on a video that was named hooded eye tutorial, wings for hooded eyes, this or that, just to realize that the person in the video didn't even have hooded eyes? I have done that so many times, and honestly, it pissed me off because when I was first getting into makeup and trying to figure out how to do makeup, I wasn't even sure if I had hooded eyes or not, but I knew something was up because I wasn't able to really recreate the looks that I saw other people doing. And once I realized that I did have hooded eyes and I started looking for tutorials to find out how to work with my own eye shape, so many people would use the term hooded eyes in order to get views, and they didn't even have hooded eyes. And it just made me so sad because I felt like there was something wrong with me, and it took me so long to realize that when you actually do have hooded eyes, and to me, the definition of having hooded eyes, I know everyone has different eye shapes, but when you can look at my eyes straight ahead and from the side, you can see that the crease in my eyelid extends past where my lower lash line is, and that is what makes it so hard to do winged liner for hooded eyes. And I feel like if you're able to do an actual winged liner without it looking wonky, you don't have hooded eyes. I'm sorry, you might have halfway hooded eyes, but you don't actually have hooded eyes, because that is the main issue when it comes to having hooded eyes, is trying to get eyeliner to look good, because honestly, I've given up. It's pretty much impossible. I'll let you in on a little secret, and that is that whenever you watch a YouTube guru video, they always say that if you have a video concept that does really well, make more of those videos. I feel embarrassed because I've made one hooded eye video on my channel. I've made over 575 videos or something like that, and my hooded eye video is my second watch video. Why haven't I made more? Because I'm an overthinker and I wanted it to be perfect, but here's the thing, I have hooded eyes. I just want to show you, if you came to my channel, how to do makeup on your own eyes and just try to give you some tips. I don't want these videos or this video to be the perfect hooded eye ultimate, whatever. I just want you to find my channel if you do have hooded eyes. Hopefully you did, you clicked on this video. I'm just gonna show you how I do my makeup, and that's pretty much gonna be it. Today we're gonna be doing a very just simple, standard, traditional, how I do my crease, how I do my lid shade, and that's pretty much going to be it. It's going to be a very traditional way of building up an eye look. It's going to be very simple. It will be colorful. If you're not into color, you can definitely use neutrals or whatever it is that you like to use. Don't feel like you have to use what I'm using, but I'm going to use the Muse Beauty Impressionism palette. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. It is such a beautiful palette. I just love the color story in it. I love how the shadows perform. So we're gonna be doing kind of a warm tone look today. I think I wanna do the red as well as the brown. Maybe even put a little bit of this in my transition and pop a shimmer or something like that on the lid. So first off, very important step, always use an eyeshadow primer, especially if you have hooded eyes, because hooded eyes tend to crease a lot and you just don't want to have to deal with that. So use an eyeshadow primer. If concealer works for you, that is amazing, but it does not work for me. So I definitely use an eyeshadow primer every time I put on eyeshadow. It isn't really important which one you use. I'm using my Natasha Denona one, but any eyeshadow primer will do the job. Alright, so step number one, grab a fluffy brush, not too big, just something that fits really nicely into your crease. If you have hooded eyes, you know that we don't actually have a crease. Not the way that normal people do anyway, but just grab a brush that's a good size for you. I'm gonna go in with the lightest shade here. We're gonna go light to dark. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this one, which is called Giverny. And I'm gonna take this on a kind of small blending brush. That is also a tip that I really like to give, is that use brushes that are smaller than you think you should use, because a lot of the time when you watch tutorials of people who don't have hooded eyes, they use very large crease brushes, and it's just a lot easier for people who don't have hooded eyes to just kind of fluff something in their crease, because they don't have to really think about where they put it, because they already have a very defined crease, so they just kind of go in where their crease really is. So I'd say use something that's a little bit smaller. I'm going to use this as my transition shade, so I'm first just going to place this down where my natural crease is. And the important thing to remember when you're putting down your first shade is that you want every shade that you have in your crease to show when your eye is open. That is how you're going to create depth. That is how you're going to make your eyes look less hooded than they are. Not that there's anything wrong with having hooded eyes, but if you're looking to do the most flattering thing that you can on your eye shape, this is definitely the way to do that. So I want to make sure that when I have my eye open and the eye look is all done, that I can see all of the shades that I do have in my crease. So I want to make sure that I pull this high enough up that I still have room for at least one more shade in my crease to be blended out, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna take this quite high up here. It's also going to depend a lot on just how much room you have in between your hood of your eye and your brow when your eyes are open. Some people have less space. I'm lucky to have quite a bit of space here, but I do have very small eyes because I'm just like a small person in general. I have very small features. So in that sense, I don't really have as much room as it might seem, which is also why I need to use a lot smaller brushes. So like you can see, I'm just kind of blending this out now. So I'm not going to do anything crazy on the outer edge of my eye. Sometimes I like to wing it up because I find that that really like lifts my eye, and it also is one of those things that makes my eyes look less hooded. But I want this to be a very straightforward eye look that, you know, really anybody can do with any colors. So I'm going to keep it very, very simple and keep it more rounded on the outer corner of my eye today. I'm also going to take this underneath my eye. Nothing fancy here. I'm just going to run this underneath my eye, like I said. Also kind of going to blow this out a little bit under my eye to make sure that when I go in with my next shade a little bit closer to my lash line, that both of these colors are still going to show. And then when you get to the outer corner here, just kind of, you know, buff them together. Nothing too fancy, but you do want to make sure that you get a good blend on the outer corner of your eye. So with the next shade, I'm going to take an even smaller blending brush. This is my referral number 13. This is my absolute favorite brush if you have small and hooded eyes. I use this brush in every single look. If you're not new to my channel, you know how much I love this brush. I am obsessed. I'm going to grab the red shade here, and I'm hoping that since I put down this kind of grungy yellow mustard, that this is going to kind of tone this down and not make it so bright, but be a little bit more grungy. So I'm going to start by first placing this in the outer corner of my eye here, because it's just a good place to start to put down the most pigment. And the trick on the outer corner of your eye, again, is that you want to make sure that when your eye is open, that you can still see this color poking through, because that is, again, how you create depth in your eye looks. I am going to go in with a even darker shade, so I, of course, want to bring this shade high enough up that when I go in with my third shade, that the third shade is also going to show when my eye is open. So you just kind of have to go back and forth a little bit and, like, you know, look ahead and see where it is that you want your shadows to be. So I'm pulling this high enough up that I can barely see a little bit of that first shade that I put down still show when this is all blended out. And I would say on the outer corner here, keep it kind of confined, but just so much that you can still see it, like I said, when your eye is open. If you want me to do a tutorial on like how to wing out your eye shape for hooded eyes, I can absolutely do that. Just let me know. Because sometimes I find it a lot easier, honestly, to do that, because it's just sort of what my eye shape wants to do. Because if I follow my lower lash line out, it does go out in a bit of a wing shape, and I find that it just looks really good when I do it that way. And this is why it's so important to have small blending brushes, is because if you really want to put the shadows down where it is that you want them, you can't just go in with a giant brush and expect it to not like go everywhere, you know? So I just like to use as small brushes as I possibly can without it taking a year to get my eye look done. I'm also going to take a little bit of this red underneath my eye as well. Again, trying to keep it contained enough that I can still see both of these colors when I'm done with this. And on the outer corner, I'm keeping the shape of this quite round here, but still trying to work on the blend a little bit so that it's not looking too harsh. And just to make sure that the first shadow is still visible, I'm gonna go back in with it, even though I can definitely see it, but I just wanna make sure that I can see this shade, because I think it is a really beautiful shade and it just complements the red really nicely. And this is also just going to help with the blend. So I'm just using the same brush that I used with my transition shade with that same shade, and just going around my eye where the edge of the red is, just using very small circular motions. That's a good way, again, to just contain the shadow where it is that you want it to be, instead of going back and forth like this. And it also just really helps with the blend on the outer edges. Just using very, very soft pressure all the way around my eye. And when I get underneath my eye, I am going to go back and forth, because I don't want this to get too blown out. Okay, so the blend is looking good, and now for the deepening shade, this is like not a trick. This is what everybody does if they want depth. But honestly, I find this is the step that makes the biggest difference in how my eye shape looks. I'm gonna go into this dark brown here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put it on the very outer corner of my eye. Again, I wanna make sure that when I put this down, that I can see this color when my eye is open. And this is also going to tone down this look a little bit. It's not going to look so red anymore. So you can see I've put it down now, but I can still not really see it when I look straight ahead. So I need to pull it up a little bit higher. I'm not gonna pull this from my crease. I'm just going to keep it to the outer corner of my eye. I do like to pull it in on my lid quite a bit, because when I go in with my shimmer shadows, I wanna make sure that when I do layer them over, that I get a good gradient between everything. So I can see now that I can see this when my eye is open. Just want to make sure I bring it about halfway in, because that is where I like my darkest shade to go. This is of course going to be very personal and just something you're going to have to play around with. It's a lot of trial and error to really get your own eye shape down and the way that you like your eye looks to be. I'm very particular with how I like my eye looks to be, and I know some people find it to be a little bit repetitive when I always talk about like having depth in palettes, because it's just what makes me comfortable. I kind of see it in the same way as I see, you know, clothing. We all have our different styles, and we all have things that we like to wear because of certain things and because of how it makes our body looks, and that's what makes us comfortable. I'm gonna take a tiny amount of this brown and just put it on the outer third or so of my lower lash line, because this is just going to help the blend on the outer corner. Again, you want to make sure that when you are blending out your outer corner, that you can still see the darkest shade kind of all the way around your eye, because that is also going to create that illusion of you not having hooded eyes on the outer corner of your eye. And this can be a little bit tricky because, you know, if you don't have hooded eyes, you probably have like that hollowness kind of going around your eye that you can just sort of follow. But since we don't have that, we have to kind of pretend like we do. So with hooded eyes, it's more about trying to trick the eye and to create shadows where you don't really have any, which is why you want to go in with like the darkest shades in this order. So now for the lid shades, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I haven't really decided what I want to do. I'm thinking I want to do maybe something green, because I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling it with my background here, but I do want something just to kind of tie the green in with this dark shade. So I'm going to first take a little bit of this bronze. I am going to spray this a little bit with some Fix Plus here, because I just really like when my shadows pop. So I'm going to start by putting this in the middle of my lid here, and then I'm going to blend it outwards. So where you want to be placing this with your hooded eyes, personally, I don't really like having shimmers show when my eyes are open, because I find that the light kind of reflects it a little bit weirdly. So I pull it high enough up that I can't really see it when my eye is open. I can maybe see it a little bit, but once I go in with mascara, you're not really going to be able to see it. But I do want to take advantage of as much of my lid space as possible, and it also really helps if you kind of make it look like you have a rounded eye. Does that make any sense? Probably not, but I like to kind of create an illusion of having very round eyes. So when my lid is all done, it kind of looks like a ball on my eye. Of course, I'm sure this is going to depend on your eye shape, and not everyone has, you know, as big eyes as I do, because I do have quite big eyes and I do have a lot of lid space, which I didn't realize really until just like a year ago or something. Just placing this, like I said, in the middle of my lid and blending it outwards. You don't want to cover up all of that darkest shade, because again, that is what's going to be creating that depth on your eye on the outer corner. But you do want to have a, you know, good gradient at least with the shimmer shade that you're blending into it. And it is easier to blend a darker shimmer into a dark matte than it is to blend a lighter shimmer into a dark matte, just to get a good gradient. So I like to have two shimmers on my lid usually, one that's like more mid-toned or darker, and then one that's lighter for the inner portion of my lid. And that's also going to help you create the illusion of having a different eye shape when you're keeping the lightness in the inner portion and the darkness in the outer portion. So for the inner portion of my lid here, I'm gonna grab a little bit of this green. I'm going to spray this one as well. And I'm just gonna place that in the front half of my lid here. And then I'll definitely go in with some kind of an inner corner shade to just really brighten up what I have going on here. So when I place down this color, again, like I was saying before about that ball shape, because I want my lid shades to kind of look like a bit of a circle instead of just being like a straight oval line. Wow, that didn't make any sense at all, but I think you know what I mean. So I do pull this quite high up so that I get that shape on the eye that I'm looking for, and I'm just gonna fade that into the bronze. I also like to keep my shimmers in a bit of a diagonal line, because when I look ahead and you look at my eyes, I can see a little bit of my lid in the front portion here when my eye is open, but I can't see anything on the outer part. So if I place my lightest shimmer so that I can still see my lightest shimmer above the hood of my eye when my eye is open, that is also going to help me create the idea of me not having hooded eyes. So I'm just going to gently blend this into the bronze shade here. I'm also, just because I can't help myself, I always need to use as many colors as possible. I'm gonna take a little bit of this sort of corally shimmer and I'm gonna put that on the front portion of my lower lash line. This has nothing to do with having hooded eyes. This is just me wanting to play around. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find something that's a little bit brighter that I can pop in my inner corner just to sort of lighten up everything a little bit. Basically, what I try to always go for is to have the lightest colors in my eye look on the front portion of my eye and all of the darkest colors on the outer portion. That's a good kind of tip to keep in mind. Of course, you can use a light transition shade, but for the most part, keep it dark on the outer part and light on the inner part. So what I want to use in my inner corner here is a shade from Cleona. This is in the shade Halo. It's one of the iridescent one, I think. I'm just going to take that in my very inner corner. I find this to be a very good way to just kind of connect what you have on the top and the bottom. So this is a duochrome, as you can probably see. It has a little bit of a kind of red to green tint. I'm not really sure. It's very hard to explain. And sometimes these kind of shadows confuses me a little bit because I don't really know what to expect. I don't even know if this really goes with the eye look, but this is what I'm doing and hopefully it's going to end up looking okay. It probably wasn't the best choice of an inner corner highlight, but so this is where we're at. I am going to put something in my waterline. I haven't really decided what I want to do. I tend to not go with black because I find that black just makes my eyes look a little bit smaller. So I prefer using like some kind of a bright, colorful waterline color because that is just what makes me happy. So I think I'm gonna go with green just because I have green on my lid. So I'm going to take this gel liner from Lethal Cosmetics. This is in the shade Equalize. And if you haven't seen anybody use gel liners in their waterline before, I just take a small flat brush, basically just put it into the eyeliner and then I pop it into my waterline. I feel like this is a very Christmassy look, but I don't know, I like Christmas, so I'm not mad at it. I'm also going to put on a little bit of liquid liner. I don't do wings when I do liquid liner. I basically just trace my upper lash line. I do try to kind of make the outer portion of my liner a little bit thicker because I just kind of like how that looks when my eye is closed. Can't really see it when my eye is open, obviously, because of my hood. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to take my liner past the hood of my eye because it's going to look really, really wonky. So I don't extend it past where the kind of crease that's going through my lid is. I just keep it very contained here. Like I said, I do take a little bit more on the outer portion just so that the line is a little bit thicker. And I do a little bit of a flick, but you can't even really call it a wing because you can't see it at all. This is just something I like to do because I find that, you know, when I'm moving and I'm talking and you can see my eye in action, I just find that this is what looks the best on my eye shape. I'm also going to curl my lashes and put on a ton of mascara, and I think that's going to be it for the look. So I think this is going to be the completed look. I hope you guys found this helpful. I'm probably going to try to do like more of these, especially if this video does well. I just want to make sure that my videos get put in front of the right people. And I'm just not really one to do like how-to videos and stuff like that. I just like to be a little bit more chill and not so organized and just kind of try to give tips as I go along. So hopefully this video wasn't too long, but that you got a little bit of something out of it at least. I know if you've been on my channel for a while, this maybe didn't feel as much of a personal video as it normally does, because I am, like I said, trying to just get the right people to click on my videos so that I can help more people, because I know that there are so many people out there who just need help trying to figure out their own eye shape, and hooded eyes are just so tricky. And I just feel like I've gotten used to like working on my own eye shape enough that I feel like I maybe have a couple of tips that I can give. So that's gonna be it for this video. If you want to see the other hooded eye video that I have on my channel, I will have that on the screen so you can go check that out. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.